My wife was holding a knife in one hand and my manhood in the other. Hi, I'm Jack, and the story I'm sharing with you today is incredibly painful and embarrassing. It has to do with the way my erectile dysfunction shamed, humiliated, and almost ruined my entire marriage and life. Now, the only reason I'm willing to tell you about this is because during this dark and awful chapter, I was about to uncover the truth about ED that no one else is giving you. The real root cause of ED has nothing to do with low testosterone levels. In fact, according to research from Columbia University and various Ivy League universities, if you are taking testosterone supplements to eliminate your ED, then you may have been lied to. And more importantly, in this quick video, you are about to discover how I managed to cure my ED for good within hours without taking male enhancement pills, expensive heart-destroying drugs like Viagra, which does nothing for the real root cause of ED, or paying over $2,000 for ineffective low-T therapy that only works on less than 5% of men, giving me the ability to enjoy full, long-lasting erections literally on demand. I was able to turn back the clock and blast off with rock-hard erections that gave my wife more unadulterated pleasure than she's felt in years. I'm talking about those kind of almost too big but every girl loves them erections that you had when you were younger. Remember those? Well, after applying the method for yourself, you'll begin experiencing the most powerful, long-lasting, and full erections of your life. And it doesn't matter what age you are, whether you struggle with full-blown ED or even if you don't have a problem and just want to add a massive surge of vitality to your sex life. And yes, if you're skeptical, I totally get it. I would be too. In fact, before I dug out the truth, just like probably every other guy, I had to hang my head in shame by those little blue pills and hope and pray they really worked and that I would finally win in the bedroom again. However, you need to watch this right to the end immediately. This video could be removed at any time because they do not want me revealing their secrets. Why? Because the only folks who are winning right now are big companies and the billions they make profiting from our ED shame. So if you want to change all that, please watch until the very end right now. If you don't, you're going to miss out for good. And now in just a moment, I'm going to explain to you the simple science behind my discovery and show you how to address your own ED issues with a simple yet proven technique. It's a way to finally get your sex life back on your own terms. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Jack Bridges. I'm 52 years old and I currently live in Lincoln, Nebraska. It was nearly 4 years ago to the day that my wife Anna lifted that knife to my manhood. As you can imagine, it was totally unexpected, especially since it happened on her 50th birthday. I had known that turning the big 5-0 was hard for Anna, but I had no idea what was really going on inside her head. I thought it was just the typical getting older stuff. Buying her really nice jewelry has always worked in the past, so I saved up to score her a brilliant diamond bracelet. She'd been eyeing it for months, so I was sure it was going to do the trick. Boy, was I wrong. I planned to take her to a nice dinner on her birthday and give her the bracelet for dessert. However, it was a slow day at work, so I chose to come home early and surprise her. Little did I know, it was going to be me who was the recipient of the biggest and most painful surprise that day. Of my life, actually. I wanted to make the most of the surprise, so I parked in front of the neighbor's house and snuck in through the back door. In one hand, I had the bracelet all wrapped up, and in the other, I had a big bouquet of her favorite flowers. I was pretty proud of myself. This was going to be a great birthday after all, I thought. As I tiptoed through the kitchen, I heard her talking in the other room. I peered around the corner and realized she wasn't just talking. She was crying, and she was crying really hard. She was sitting on the sofa with her friend Jean, who had her arms around her, comforting her. And that's when it happened. She cut me to the core, so deeply, and all in a flash. Yes, I love him, she explained to Jean. He's a good man. And we've been married for almost 30 years now, but if I'm being really honest, I just miss sex. I mean, I really, really miss it. More than that, I miss having a real man. I feel terrible for saying it, but it's true. As I was sinking to my knees in horror, she continued, he just can't do it to me the way he used to anymore. He was the first man ever to give me real pleasure. Now it's almost as if he doesn't know I'm a woman anymore. It makes me feel so unattractive. Will I have to go unsatisfied for the rest of my life? I felt like I was going to be sick when she struck the final blow. I'm embarrassed to admit it, but when I'm out, I get hit on all the time by other guys, and I really like it. And when I'm alone, I find myself thinking about these other men and what it would be like to spend the night with them. I'm not sure that I'd actually do it for real, but it's very tempting. That's when it felt like she had a knife in her hand and sliced my manhood clean off. My heart hit the floor with a painful thud. Those few seconds felt like an eternity, and that pain seemed to become more unbearable with every word she spoke. I'm not sure how I got out of the house or how I ended up in the parking lot in front of Starbucks, but there I was. I was sickened. I was horrified. I was angry. I don't know if anyone has ever challenged your manhood, but when your wife of nearly 3 decades says you're not a real man when she pictures being with other men, then there is no lower or worse feeling. Like you've let down the only person who matters in life, that you can't even satisfy your own wife. I thought I was going to be physically sick right there in the car. Problem was, she was right. If I was being really honest, my fear of being able to get an erection, not to mention regular and fully hard ones, and to keep them up, had totally killed our sex life. Sure, we slept in the same bed, but since it was becoming more and more difficult to get hard, I pretty much had given up. And while the ED pills my doctor prescribed seemed to work at first, there were just too many side effects. And it wasn't just the cramps, headaches, diarrhea, or chest pain. At nearly $8 a pop I was spending just to get hit or miss results. And if you've had to do it, you know there's nothing more humiliating as a man than having to stand in the pharmacy line to get pills because you can't get it up anymore. Talk about not feeling like a real man. It was awful. But it was also a catch-22. If I didn't use the pills, I was almost sure I wasn't going to have an erection. Even when I did, the results were not guaranteed. On more than a few occasions, I started sex and then had to roll over totally ashamed because I was limp and as wet as spaghetti noodle. And I couldn't even please my own wife. It was a train wreck, and it was one of those things you just don't talk about either, which made it 10 times worse. It's important for you to know, just like my wife had said to her friend, I used to be able to get big, hard, and lasting erections whenever I wanted, but the last 2 years I've never had any problems like this. I guess I took that as a sign of my manhood. It wasn't uncommon for me to have sex daily or even multiple times a day, and to be able to please my partner over and over again, and to lose that, well, it hurts deeply. And that's how I've gotten myself into this mess and how I ended up sitting in front of Starbucks thinking about my life. How did all this happen? What's wrong with me? Why did this have to be so difficult? Was all this just a natural part of aging? If so, getting older was going to suck. Truth is, I had no idea. But what I did know was that I couldn't live knowing my wife didn't think of me as a real man. Whether it was humiliation, pride, or just love for my wife, I chose right then and there to do everything I could to regain my manhood, to wipe out my erectile dysfunction, and to put an end to this ugly chapter of my life. And heck, I just love sex as much as the next guy, so I was determined, and heck, I loved sex just as much as the next guy, so I was determined to figure out what these traditional prescriptions for ED were really doing, and more importantly, see if I could find any other solutions that could work without all the side effects and high costs. Over the next month, I spent almost every evening in my home office for hours and hours digging through the internet searching for an answer, any answer I could find. Did locking myself in the office help our relationship? No, not at all. In fact, it made things worse than they already were. I think she was afraid I was having an online affair or was just avoiding her. Or, well, who knows? All I do know is that I tried to do what I could to let her know I loved her. You see, I was obsessed. I'd convinced myself that finding a cure, something natural, something I was overlooking, something that just had to be there, was going to make this difficult time totally worth it. If I could just find a way to end my ED, everything would be okay. That's what I was telling myself. Because it doesn't matter how young or old you are, if you don't have a healthy sex life with your partner, you risk everything. Because without it, you're nothing more than platonic roommates, right? I needed Anna to know she turned me on as much today as she did 30 years ago. And that's why I just had to figure this out. As you can imagine, I ran into lots of roadblocks and obstacles. At the same time, I uncovered some shocking information. What kind of information, you ask? Well, for starters, it turns out that those low-T erectile dysfunction therapies you hear about all the time on TV and in magazines actually work on about 5% of the men. 5%. Doctors at Columbia and other respected universities have shown that not only do low T treatments not benefit the majority of men, but these injections, creams, and gels that can cost up to $2,000 are connected with fun things like heart attacks, blood clots, liver problems, and even prostate cancer. It's no wonder the FDA is seriously considering outlawing them. Some cure, huh? Even though I had already tried those little blue pills, I wanted to really understand how meds like Viagra, Cialis, Levitra actually worked. I knew they were incredibly expensive, but it was what I discovered when I dug a little deeper that horrified me. I thought I had it bad with my relatively minor side effects, but I was shocked beyond words when I learned that these drugs may also cause memory loss, sudden hearing or vision loss, and even irregular heartbeat and chest pains. Believe it or not, that's only a small sample of the potentially disastrous side effects. So here I was. I'd been doing this nightly research for almost a month. I was at my wit's end, and it seemed like I was running out of options. I went so far as to see if there were any exercises I could do to improve my erections. Now, hang on a minute. Before you laugh, think about it. Erections are all about getting blood to your penis, right? So if exercise increases circulation, I figured it might help. I probably don't have to tell you, but there is zero research that connects exercise and erections. But it was worth a try, wasn't it? And while I'm sure we could all agree that hitting the gym a little more often would be a good thing, it ain't gonna help with your ED. So, a month had passed since my wife struck me at the core of my manhood. I'd spent every waking moment trying to find a solution, and what did I have to show for it? Was I really doomed to live the rest of my life in a broken marriage as half a man, unable to please my own wife? Or worse, was she going to leave me or hook up with another man? I couldn't bear to think of Anna having an affair, but was this what it had come to? In fact, it got so bad that I actually came this close to telling my wife to go have an affair. At least then I'd know it was happening rather than having her go behind my back. However, it was at that exact moment that I flashed back to her birthday, to me standing there in the kitchen, listening to her words like knives. Yes, I was totally emasculated, but I also remembered how sad Anna sounded, how much she wanted her husband back, and how desperate she was. So I knew I had three choices. I could get mad at her, although that was pointless, because no matter how hard it was to admit, we both knew she was right. I could do nothing, but that obviously wouldn't fix anything, or I could keep working and find the answer. I had never been much of an optimist, but right then and there I knew I couldn't fail. Everything depended on me finding a way to end my ED permanently. And I knew I had to find it quickly or it would be too late. So I kept at it night after night, and I still thank my lucky stars that I did. Why? Well, because a few short days later, I stumbled upon a game changer I'd been working on so hard to find. I stumbled upon something that would eventually be the salvation I was looking for. Something that gave me, and still gives me to this day almost 4 years later, the ability to have rock-hard erections whenever I want. Strong, firm, and there's no other way to say it, big erections that last. And now, this same solution has allowed many more men just like you to get the same amazing results too. This is how it happened. So as you can imagine, I was pretty discouraged. I didn't seem to be making any headway with the traditional treatments and meds. Exercise wasn't helping. And I even went so far as to try those infomercial free trial products like Extends. They were all dead ends. So before I gave up, I chose to dig even deeper. I was going to go beyond products that treated the symptoms of ED and find out what was the root of the problem. That's when I turned to the real research. The scientific journals, the double-blind studies, the physiology behind it all. And that's when I had my aha moment. When you break it down, understanding ED is not rocket science. You may think it is. You may think it is some hyper-complicated, super scientific thing, but when you get down to brass tacks, it's pretty dang basic. Let me explain what I mean, and don't worry, you won't need a degree in anatomy to understand what I'm about to share. To uncover what causes ED, we need to first realize what happens when you have an erection. First, your penis actually has two chambers in it, known as the corpora cavernosa. Second, These chambers are filled with blood vessels. You can think of them sort of like sponges. And third, when you're stimulated, these blood vessels are supposed to open or relax to allow blood from your arteries to fill them up. You probably see where this is going, right? So once they're filled up and pressurized, voila, you have yourself an erection. Pretty straightforward stuff, right? Get turned on, pump in some blood, create pressure, and there you go. Problem is, if you're suffering with ED or just can't seem to get as firm or as big of erections as you used to, things aren't working quite like they're supposed to, you want to know why. Why is it? At its most basic, those blood vessels in your penis simply aren't completely relaxing. As a result, the blood isn't making it into your penis. And if that's not happening, neither is an erection. Can you really believe that's all there is to ED? In fact, this one issue is pretty much at the heart of every erection problem. It's not something in your head. It's not something wrong with you. It's not because you're cursed or doomed to never have an erection again. And it's not a natural part of aging at all. Many studies by prominent universities have demonstrated this time and time again. Your vessels are not relaxing. Blood is not flowing. And if that's not happening, erections aren't either. That's it. Period. End of story. And that's exactly what got me thinking. Popping pills couldn't be the answer for something so fundamental, so natural, so basic as having an erection. There's got to be a better way to address this issue without drugs. I was willing to try anything and even started looking at ancient remedies. Turns out that this thing we call erectile dysfunction has shown up throughout history, and just about every culture has their own ideas of how to treat it. And believe me, some are really out there, like baby crocodile hearts, ground up beetles, and even goat or monkey testicles. Yet some of their ideas weren't nearly as extreme, like lotus flowers and ground deer antlers. So I tried as many as I could find, and I documented all of my results. Regretfully, those results were pretty disappointing. If anything, the side effects from these so-called remedies wouldn't have been worth it, even if they did work. The herbal blends that I found online and in my local health food store didn't work any better. They just ended up making me feel dizzy, sick to my stomach, and most of them smelled really weird, so I didn't think my wife would have wanted to be with me anyway. At this time, I also started exploring things like tantric yoga, meditative breathing, and relaxation exercise. All good things to try and to get my body to relax, and whereas I did feel calmer at times, there was no change. Another roadblock, another stopping point. But I thought I'd come too far to give up, so I started looking at biological research to see if I could unearth any clues there, and that's when things finally started clicking. You see, I discovered that our bodies are filled with certain enzymes, amino acids, and naturally occurring substances that are directly responsible for relaxing blood vessels and increasing the volume of blood that pumps through the body. If you don't have enough of these, things like erectile dysfunction can be the results. And here's the crazy thing. You can find these enzymes and amino acids in everyday foods and supplements. Things that are right there, right now, sitting on the shelves of your local market and health food store. Items that have been proven in countless studies to be the very thing I'd been searching for, opening up those blood vessels and increasing blood flow. In other words, if I could just determine which of these all-natural compounds worked most effectively on the penis specifically, the result should be the ability to get and maintain youthful erections again, right? Well, that was my hunch, and since I had no other options, I went for it. For days, I combed through research articles looking for the names of these miracle enzymes and amino acids. None of the research was specifically about erectile dysfunction, but I had a feeling I was on the right path. Once I'd compiled a pretty comprehensive list, I began searching for foods and supplements that contained these compounds. I was surprised at how many there were, and most of them were readily available. So, with my list in hand, I headed down to my grocery store, bought the weirdest selection of foods I think the checker has ever seen, and started my testing that very night. Just like all my other research, I diligently kept notes on everything. Well, as much as I'd hoped for an immediate home run, it didn't happen quite that way. Go figure. In the next month, I believe I tested more than 50 different combinations of various foods and supplements. The result? Yeah, you guessed it. Nothing. On the plus side, I was learning about foods whose names I couldn't even pronounce, many of which tasted pretty good, too. But that wasn't the point of my research, especially since this whole time my wife and I were on thinner and thinner ice. In fact, that evening, we had a big blowout. And that's what I was thinking about as I fell asleep. How much I loved her, and how badly I felt that I was letting her down. Thankfully, even though I didn't know it, as my head hit the pillow that night, a breakthrough was only a day away. I woke up the next morning and lay in bed for a while, just thinking about the day ahead. And to be honest, I hadn't slept well the night before. Anna was already up, and I could hear her making coffee in the kitchen. That's when it happened. I rolled over and realized I was hard. Now, when I say hard, I mean I had a huge erection, like almost too big. I couldn't believe it. I thought maybe I was dreaming, but no, this was real. I jumped out of bed, ran into the kitchen, grabbed my wife's hand, and placed it right on my erection. As you can imagine, she was confused at first, but when she felt how insanely hard I was, she knew what I was thinking. Within seconds, we were back in the bedroom and having some of the best sex of our lives. In an instant, all the pain, all the fear, all the sadness seemed to wash away. It probably didn't hurt that over the next hour we had some of the most passionate and erotic sex we'd had in years. And as hard as it was for me to believe, I never once lost any of the vigor of my erection. After she had her third orgasm, she rolled over and asked, "What in the world is going on?" She wanted to ask if I'd taken a double dose of Viagra or some new drug. It was at that moment I had to tell her the truth. So I told her everything. From hearing that conversation to driving to Starbucks and feeling the world crash around me, not feeling like a real man, incapable of satisfying my own wife, I shared the pain, the anger, the helplessness. And of course, I told her everything I'd been doing for the past 4 months to try to get my manhood back, and I didn't leave out any of the details. Her first reaction wasn't what I really expected. She was upset with me that I hadn't told her sooner. But within moments, she just kept saying, "Oh, Jack, you must really love me." And here, I didn't know what was happening, and I feared the worst. We talked for about 30 minutes, and then what she said next put the fear of God into me. "Let's do it again." A flood of thoughts hit me all at once. What if I can't get it up? What if it was a fluke? What if I disappoint her again? I was swimming in those fears when Anna began gently kissing my neck. And whammo! It just happened. I had another erection that was even more powerful than the first, and I'm telling you, man, it was incredible. And that's the moment my life changed forever. It was the moment I got my manhood back. We had sex 2 more times that day, and then again the next morning. Whatever I had done was working. Now I just had to figure out exactly what it was. I had been taking a lot of different combos of foods and supplements, so I needed to narrow it down to what the solution really had been. Thankfully, as I told you earlier, I had been taking copious notes, so I simply repeated the same thing I'd done the day before, and it was so easy. It involved consuming a series of everyday foods together with a specific supplement. That's it. The trick was to get the timing and quantities right on everything, and since I had it all written down, it was just a matter of following the exact same steps. Did it work? All I'll say is that evening I only managed to make it halfway through dinner before we had to rush into the bedroom for a long night of lovemaking. And that's what happened night after night, day after day. It felt like we were teenagers again. We had more sex the following month than I think we had during our entire marriage. And it wasn't just quantity either, the quality of sex. How hard my erections were and how long I could last was amazing. All my wife had to do was look at me a certain way and I was aroused. It was better than either of us could have ever imagined. I quickly discovered there were a bunch of foods I could eat that would generate exactly the same results. The key was to make sure I was getting the right amino acids, enzymes, and proteins in the proper amounts at the right time of day and combined with the correct supplements. When I did that, I continued to have what my wife dubbed her on-demand erections. Problem was, I was actually having too many erections. I could just think about my wife and I'd get instantly hard. This was fine if I was at home. Not so good when I was in a meeting with my bosses. And yeah, that did happen. Luckily, it was an easy fix. I just adjusted my eating plan and lessened the potency. And of course, I documented everything in my files. It was about this time that my coworkers and friends noticed the changes in me. "What's going on?" they asked. "You seem different." And that's when I chose to tell them my story. Heck, if it worked for me, maybe one of these guys needed some help too, huh? And boy, did they. Each and every one of the guys that heard about what I had done wanted to get their hands on my special erection prescription. It made me realize how many men were struggling with the same kinds of issues I was. So I spent a few days distilling all of my research down into a guide of sorts. I outlined the foods and the supplements they needed. I explained when and how to put everything together to get the best results. I even included a section about what to do if, like me, they were getting too good of a result, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And as you can imagine, there were a few skeptics in the bunch, but it didn't take long to make believers out of them. I mean, you can't argue with a rock-hard erection now, can you? In that first week, after I emailed my homemade guide to the guys, I got more calls, texts, and emails from them than I had ever gotten before, from every single one of them. Indeed, my best friend and colleague Brian took me aside at work one day and shared with me that ED was ruining the relationship with his wife. For years now, he'd been unable to please her and felt terrible about it. She had even threatened to leave on a number of occasions, and he thinks she may have even had an affair already. I'd felt many of the same things he had, so I could understand the pain he was going through. Just then, as he was telling this to me, his face brightened, and he broke out with the biggest smile. You see, what happened was he had tried out my formula for himself, and he and his wife had already mended fences and were enjoying each other like young lovers again. "We just can't keep our hands off of each other," he said. He could not stop thanking me. Then there were my other friends who admitted that although they didn't have ED or any other problems getting it up, they chose to give my remedy a whirl just for the fun of it. They could barely contain their excitement when they told me that their erections were harder, bigger, and more satisfying than they could ever remember. They also told me their girlfriends and wives wanted them to let me know how grateful they were as well. This went on for about a month. More and more people were getting word about my secret recipe. All over the country, people were getting in touch with me. And that's when I made the choice. It was going to be awkward. It was going to be a little embarrassing, but I needed to share my discovery with the world. Men who were struggling with ED, or who just wanted a better sex life, needed to learn what I've uncovered. They needed to know that they could get these kinds of results too, and without harmful or expensive drugs. And that's exactly why you're here on this website. I'd considered approaching the big pharma companies with my discovery, but my wife stopped me. "Sure, they might buy it from you," she said, "but then they'll lock your formula up in their vaults so that nobody ever hears about it." And you know what? She was right. You can't patent everyday foods and readily available supplements. And if you can't patent them, you can't make a fortune off customers who buy them. Drug companies were not the answer. So that's when I chose to create this website, put up this quick video, and make my guide available to people everywhere. My Survive in Bed system gives you the only 100% natural and drug-free way to eliminate your ED by addressing the real cause and not just hiding the symptoms. I spent months turning that first guide that I had shared with my friends and colleagues into a comprehensive program that gives you everything you need to end your suffering and regain your manhood. From the various amino acids, enzymes, and proteins you need, when you need to take them, where you can find them, and a whole lot more. The awesome thing is that since the fundamental ingredients can be found in many different foods, you have a lot of options. Even when you're dining out, and nobody will ever know that you're fixing your ED the entire time. In addition, the Survival in Bed system also allows you to adjust the formula to your unique situation. That means you can dial it up or down as needed and tune in the specific results you're looking for. Plus, it's totally natural, has zero side effects, and is 100% proven and guaranteed to work. When you combine the Survival in Bed system with about $15 worth of everyday products you can find at the market, you'll have everything you need to start getting the kind of rock-hard erections you and your lover have been longing for. Best of all, once you use this life-changing program, your blood vessels will begin relaxing naturally. That's right. You only need to follow the program for about 7 days, and you have set yourself up for a lifetime of increased stamina, improved girth, and more satisfying on-demand erections. Picture how amazing it's going to feel to be able to get it up and keep it up whenever and for however long you want. No more fear of failing. No more fear of worrying about it working. This is what's possible. Indeed, this is what 48,742 men have already begun experiencing firsthand for themselves. Men like Jeff Rogers. He's from Franklin, Tennessee, and Jeff made my day with this email that reads, "Jack, I want to thank you for sharing your survival in bed method with people. To come out there and share your story with guys around the world takes some guts. You seriously deserve an award for being so open with this issue, because guys these days tend to hide it from everyone. Here's a bit about my story. I had gone 6 months without an erection before I stumbled across your website while browsing online. This seems like a joke, but I tried so many ED pills, low T shots, and so much more. You name it, I tried it. I even went to my doctor, who claimed I had a medical condition down there and that it was probably caused by aging. The only way to apparently fix this was to spend a fortune on surgery, which my insurance wouldn't cover. Then I came across your website, and I'm glad I did. Within just 3 days, I was getting what I'd call uncontrollable erections, and the rest is history. I now have no problem with performing in bed. I was at the stage where I thought I would never get an erection again and enjoy being intimate with a woman like I did in my 20s, and now everything's changed. Your method was naturally relaxing blood vessels and allowing the blood flow into my penis again. I just want to inform anyone out there who is undecided about your program to try it. I can promise that you won't have any regrets. Jeff Rogers." And then there's James Hall from Chicago, Illinois, with whom you might be able to relate to. "I've never suffered from ED, and I'm in my late 50s. I guess you could say I was blessed in that department. My friend handed me a copy of your guide, and I wanted to try it out. You hear about these wonder methods all the time, so curiosity got the better of me. All I can say is, wow, I'm really glad I did try it out. There's what you'd call a normal erection, and there's an erection you can get from the survival in bed system. It was like I just unleashed a supercharged power source down there. In all my years of satisfying women, I can honestly say that since I've put your plan into action, I'm experiencing the best, fullest, firmest erections of my life. It's made sex so much more enjoyable than it already was. I applaud you, Jack. Thanks." Signed, James Hall. And once you get it, tell your woman to put on her seatbelt, because unlike anything else, the survival in bed system works on a 3-pronged approach. The first, to increase blood flow to the penis. The second, to strengthen the blood vessels. And the third, to clean and rejuvenate the blood itself. There is no treatment available that works on all three. They barely address even one. And of course, we don't provide Band-Aids like anyone else. We treat the root cause of the problem, so this problem never crops up again. Ever. So there you go. You're covered from every angle. So what now? Now it's time to just let the system set your sex life on fire. Skyrocket your confidence and see your wife or girlfriend trying to catch her breath because of what you're now capable of doing in the bedroom. Do you want that? Or do you want to have to worry about them leaving? Women do leave. Remember that 70% of all divorces are initiated by the woman. And most women are unsatisfied in the bedroom. You've heard of survival of the fittest? Well, here's a secret. When it comes to women, it's survival of the firmest. And you really have to ask yourself, if you don't do something right now, will you survive? What do you want to be hearing tomorrow night? Don't you want to hear your wife giving the biggest sigh of relief of her life? Because a saga of pain and suffering has just ended? Or you just want to hear her walking out of the room in a huff of sexual frustration? Just imagine what this will mean for your future. While everyone else you know has a sex life that droops more and more the older they get, imagine having full-on passionate sex all through your 80s. Because so long as there is still any blood in your body, the survival in bed system just works. And as I said, the survival in bed system answers every question you might have. We know that because we've run tens of thousands of students through the system and built this course around what they've told us they wanted. However, if you should have a question, we have an eager and knowledgeable support staff who is standing by 24/7 to answer it. We're going to talk about the price for the course now. Yet first, we've got to face some cold hard facts. Erectile dysfunction costs something more than your money. It costs you your happiness, it costs you your confidence, and it will eventually cost you your marriage. And when you lose that marriage, who really wants to get into another one with you? This is really your whole life on the line, yet ED can cost you thousands in cold hard cash too. Viagra hurts the pocketbook. So do repeated failed attempts to find more unnatural Band-Aid treatments that don't cure the problem from the source make sense? All this stuff can bleed your wallet dry. So how much should it cost to eliminate all of that? To have your life back and your money back? By all logic, it should cost quite a lot. Consider also the expense, time, and research that went into this product, and you'll begin to realize it should cost even more than $1,000. But luckily for you, we're not enslaved to those investors, and we're not even in it for the money. Fact is, this gift doesn't belong to us. It just came through us. It belongs to you, the one who is actually suffering, which is why the survival in bed system won't even cost you $1,000. We could do that and sleep soundly tonight, yet we're still not doing it. It won't be $1,000. It won't even be $750, not even $500 either. Now, given what survival in bed is, how incredibly effective it is, and the fact that it's already been proven to work by so many other men just like you, you can probably understand why I was originally going to sell this guide for $299. When you think about it, that's around the cost of a month's supply of Viagra, Cialis, or any other ED drug that may help you in the short run, but that will never actually cure your ED for good. And those come with major, terrifying side effects like the ones you've already saw listed. I know you would do a lot to regain your vitality and to never feel anxiety or embarrassment when it comes to getting or maintaining erections again, but would you do it at the cost of heart disease, nerve disease, bleeding from the lungs, blood clots in the brain, chronic heart failure, seizures, diabetes, blindness, depression? The risks of these ED drugs are incredibly high, as is their $2,000 per year or more price tag, especially when compared to a 100% natural cure for your ED that requires you to spend about $15 at the grocery store, and that's totally side effect free. $299 is also what it costs for just one single low T injection, which is a treatment that can help you with your energy, muscle growth, and things like that, but which will also cost you more than $2,000 over the course of an entire treatment, while putting you at significant risk for heart attacks and cancer, and which may soon be banned and impossible to gain access to anyway. Plus, as I already stated, scientists at Columbia University, one of the most prestigious schools in the world, have already proven that less than 5% of ED cases are related to low testosterone. And since those testimonials earlier, our product has only gotten better. We have perfected the formula, and when we went further and built an entire home study course that explains absolutely everything about the survival in bed treatment process, which means that even if you do get injection after injection of pure synthetic testosterone squirted into your body, the chances are they won't do anything for you anyway. So with all of that in mind, it should be clear why I think $299 for the survival in bed is an absolute steal. Yet, while I like being paid for my work, this just isn't about money for me. I remember what it was like seeing my relationship become a living hell, to feel my wife and I drifting further and further apart simply because there was no physical contact. This course will guide you gently and smoothly through the regimen, so you know exactly what to do from the moment you get the product until you're having the best sex of your life for the rest of your life. Nothing is left to your imagination. It's completely detailed. And you even get a schedule that'll automate the entire process so you never even have to think about it. It's like paint by number, simple. And you can contact us at any hour if you have a question. However, in our experience, no one ever has any. In the system, you'll also be given a wealth of understanding into the problem of ED that most urologists don't even know. You'll also be given a treasure trove of additional tips, tricks, and tactics that we've found will accelerate your results many times over and make those results last longer and longer. We'll show you how to control your unwanted erections and slow down the process if it's becoming too much for you or your lover, and so much more. We can't even mention it all here. We've been working on this system for over 6 months, just making the system more and more powerful and more user-friendly. What will it be? Just enough to cover our costs. The only real solution for ED in history is only a small $69.95 fee. The $69.95 is just a nominal payment that will help us keep this website up. It's completely voluntary. You choose if you want to pay for it after you've been through the system. There is absolutely no pressure from us whatsoever to pay. We'll return your deposit with a smile at any time over the next 60 days when you say the word. Not surprisingly, we have very, very few asking for it back. After all, we're reversing on average 248 men with ED per day right now. Those men are usually trying to find out how to pay more just to express their gratitude. And you also get a 100% ironclad 60-day money-back guarantee. It's very simple. Your erectile dysfunction will be eliminated or your money back. And a completely full erection is guaranteed in just days. And not just an erection as strong and hard as you have ever had. The erection of your teenage years on a mature man's body. Every woman's dream. Take it from our clients. Nothing could be sexier for your lover. We guarantee that the firmness, strength, and length of your member will actually shock you within just 20 minutes. You have a full 60 days to choose if you're absolutely happy with it, too. That's plenty. And you'll likely know an hour after your first drink. And if you're on the fence at that point, I'm going to push you right over. I'm going to give you 3 of our most popular and valuable products for free. I'm going to call these bonuses. Bonus number 1, I call it Go Forever, which in short teaches you how to go forever in bed. Premature ejaculation simply does not exist once you have the info in this course. It's a simple 7-day process. It doesn't require any painful penis exercises, breathing, or anything weird like that. But it will allow you to have complete control over your ejaculations so you can come exactly when you want to come and not a moment sooner. And then once you've got an erection and the stamina, you got to start using it more often, which is why I'm also including bonus number 2, text your way to sex. This is exactly what it sounds like. It's a way to use simple text messages to get any woman hot and desperately needing you between the sheets. You won't need to say a word. She will jump you. Trust me. And yes, text messages can do this. No more awkward proposals and rejections. It's been proven hundreds of thousands of times over and over. This system is copy, paste, and bang, bang simple. And bonus number 3. Sexual superfoods. Did you know that slight additions to your diet can make you better in bed? It's true. There are a few things at your local grocery store that you can pick up and start eating more of, and you will begin noticing pretty significant changes in your stamina, your energy levels, and even your length. So now let's talk value. Go Forever sells online every day for $197. Text Your Way to Sex sells online every day for $97. Sexual Superfoods sells every day online for $47. So in total, you're going to be getting $640 worth of products, and you can keep these products even if you refund the Survival in Bed system. Now, because this may be your only chance to get a real breakthrough treatment to ED, I advise that before you make that choice, you ask yourself a few questions. Think about your lover. What do you think she deserves? Does she deserve a man who isn't able to meet her deepest needs? Does she deserve a man with a pea-sized confidence in the bedroom? Does she deserve a life of sexual frustration, left wondering if she's ever going to be fully satisfied again? Forced to look around to everywhere but you to find that satisfaction? Solving all that isn't worth fighting for? Trust me, living free of ED is going to make you feel like you've never felt before. I just had a student yesterday tell me that for the first time he was able to get his wife back, who had already left him. You can imagine how he felt, seeing the smile on her face when she sees what's going on down there. Imagine seeing that smile on her face again every day. You have a chance at all of this right now. So why are you still reading this? There's an order button below. It says, Get My Manhood Back. Hit that button, fill out the quick form, and then on the very next page, you'll gain instant access to the entire Survival in Bed system, the lists, the daily guides, and everything else. It's completely yours, and you can be using it in as little as 2 minutes from right now. Plus, to make your choice right now even more of a sure thing, you can view the entire thing on any computer, smartphone, or tablet, or download it, or even print out as many copies as you'd like to discreetly share with your friends. I'm also going to come out of my own pocket and give you a full 60-day, 100% money-back guarantee. Here's how it works. you just click the Get My Manhood Back button that's below this video. Get everything that's included in this guide and start your test drive today. You'll then have a full 2 months to evaluate the powerful, permanent, and instant erection-generating program I've created. Go through the entire program, follow the simple instructions that are inside, and I guarantee that you will be blown away by how immediate and full the erections you get are, and how you're able to achieve them on demand at the slightest touch. And if you're not happy with your small investment for any reason whatsoever, even if the program works beautiful, yet you're just having a bad day, all you need to do is send an email to the address you get inside the guide, and I will immediately refund your entire purchase with 0 questions asked. So in other words, I'm going to take all the risk here, which means you have nothing to lose. Survival in bed will change your life forever. It will heal intimacy issues you may be struggling with. It'll give you a surge of confidence in bed like you wouldn't believe, and it will make you feel like a full and complete man again. And if you're ready to get started, you really do need to act quickly. Because my wife is somewhat embarrassed by the fact that so many people are using a program that I've put my name on. And even though she does understand how many men this is helping, how much good it is doing in the world, she asked me to cap the total number of copies I give away to prevent everyone from recognizing me on the street as the ED guy. And I'll be honest, this is still up for discussion, but I do know there's a saying, happy wife, happy life. And I don't want to butt heads with her here. Which means if you come back to this website in a week from now and you find this video has been taken down, I'm sorry to say there simply won't be anything I can do for you. Although why would you even wait or put this investment off anyway? Let me remind you of something here. You have absolutely no risk. Your results are guaranteed, and you can totally cure your ED. You'll be experiencing bigger, thicker erections than you've ever had, and your sex drive will explode through the roof. Never again will you worry about not being able to perform or satisfy a partner, and if you've ever struggled to get it up, well, those days are behind you. And the other great thing about this is that you'll be less likely to suffer erectile dysfunction as you get older, too. And if you're already experiencing it, well, this is probably the healthiest, most effective solution on planet Earth. And you're also going to get more female attention. Regardless of how you look right now, or how little sex you get, your sudden increase in confidence will definitely get you more interest from women. So you'll automatically be more attractive, too, whether you're working out or not. And you'll be able to back it up in the bedroom all night long. Look, if you're not currently a guy who gets big and hard and can satisfy any lover on the planet at a moment's notice, you never will be unless you make it happen. Ultimately, the choice is yours. However, this video will be over soon, and you do need to